Hey everybody, take 5,243. Not really, but it feels like it. I'm trying to get this under 11 minutes, not happening. This is a return to my original upload from my phone, my original first try of a Gatefold album, and I thought I would redo it so y'all could actually see it, and I did research on my products I used. I didn't know all this stuff the first time, so anyway, I used Tim Holtz swivel clasp, and I used the alcohol ink in bronze, the mixative, and I used Making Memories charms and the little frame Making Memories. I used Prima Flowers. They're almost all Prima Flowers paper and fabric, and there's not a whole lot in here. I used the Tim Holtz Distress ink in Vintage Photo, Fired Brick, Worn Lipstick, and Spun Sugar. I used the Adirondack Daubers in Pitch Black and Espresso. I used my Stampendous embossing dauber with the Super Fine Ranger Black embossing powder. Now these stamps, I don't know what brand they are. My sister gave them to me years ago, and I used several of them in this book. So your guess is as good as mine. And if you know, leave it in my comment area. That'd be a good thing for me to know. I used the Zutter Corner Rounder to round all my corners on this heavyweight chipboard. This is the graphics chipboard from scrapbookpal.com. You need to visit them. They have wonderful prices, and their shipping is free with orders of $25 or more. So, to start off with, this is Paper Studio paper from Hobby Lobby, and I stamped Dream behind this little frame, and then I flooded it with glossy accents. This is a spare parts metal flower in the center of that flower. Now on the back of the flower, the way I mounted it was I used a piece of the Tim Holtz grunge board that had the polka dot stuff on it, and I painted it black with the espresso dauber, and that gave it stability, and it still looks nice. I made two library pockets just out of scraps. This one is stamped and embossed with black embossing powder, and that's a Stampability's background swirl stamp. Now the borders, all the nice little cute little borders, are all EK Success border punches, and there's a bunch of them in here. So any border you see, it's an EK Success border punch of some type. Now my first tag is just a little plain tag. I used my corner chomper, and on this edge I used the cloud edge. On some of them I used the scalloped edge, and this is a great little tool for mini bookmakers, tag makers, etc. If you don't have one, go out and get one. And of course flowers and brads, and I just drew these lines from a stencil. This is embossed with the black embossing powder I showed y'all, and those stamps I showed y'all. A lot of the border punches were used on these pockets and on this big page. And then a library tag. This is an Anna Griffin background stamp that I've had for years that I dearly love. I used Worn Lipstick on that one, and then just straight lines on the back. I made just a giant pocket and then used 1, 2, 3 of the border punches. I cut this out with my Gypsy and Expressions. Made two really big tags, and this is that scalloped edge on the chomper that I use all the time. And then I used buttons at the top of the tags on both sides, and just used embroidery floss to tie them. This is Pirate Gold embossing powder. I don't remember what brand, and a Stampability stamp. Now I took a piece of grunge board, and I cut an oval, then I punched 2 holes in it, and then I took brown alcohol ink and squirted it in spots, and then I took glossy accents and flooded the piece of grunge board, and right before it was dry, when it was still malleable. I stuck a flourish stamp in it, and it looks like tortoise shell, but then it's got that flourish in there, so it's pretty neat. This is Paper Studio paper. This is a Stampabilities journaling stamp, and this paper comes around, makes a band to hold this tag, and I got a little crazy with the sand glimmer mist. The bee stamps are a collection of stamps that I have no idea who makes, but it's got crowns with it and it says Queen. They're so cool. And the border stamps are that same company, I believe. These are the dollar spot stamps at Michael's, Soar and Laugh. And most of these stamps in here, unless I specify, are clear stamps. These may be Inkadinkadoo. These are from Hobby Lobby, and it's a collection of fleur-de-lis. These are Stampability stamps, for sure. This is a piece of that really thick, heavyweight crafting plastic, and I cut out from the Cindy Lou cartridge this frame out of grunge paper. I inked it, and then I stamped it, and then I distressed the edges, and then I used the brown dauber on it, and I cut 2 of these out, and I mirrored it. I flipped it on the Gypsy so that they would match exactly on both sides. Left the tops open, and there's a piece of transparency in here, so all those scratches I can pull it out and there'll be no scratches when I put the pictures in. So I really love the way that came out. Cut this out with my expression, and I put another one of those grunge board circles on the back and painted this one brown. Some more. This paper right here was made with a Stampability stamp, and I used the espresso paint instead of ink, and I love it because it really is distressed and just not perfect, and I really like that. And I don't know if y'all can see it or not, but I did use that swirl background stamp. It's very faint. I think I used old paper ink or something really light, and then little bitty fleur-de-lis in the worn lipstick. Okay, on these pockets, I just used transparency, and then I used the brown stays on ink and stamped flourishes on this window frame. And I think this is a 7 Gypsies tag. And the ribbon is from Michael's. I don't know what brand it is, but I remember I got it at Michael's. This is the bronze embossing powder, and that really big stamp out of this collection. And then this pocket is that same Paper Studio paper, and this tag has the Tim Holtz grunge key and one of his little pins, and then the paper Prima flowers. Most of these are from that tube that you get at Hobby Lobby, the small ones, and I just dyed them or colored them myself. I used a nail file. After I painted this with the Dauber Black, I used a nail file emery board to knock off some of that paint. And a really old button on this side. And there are stamps. You can barely see them, but I did stamp the front of this. This page, this is Paper Studio paper again, and it looks like burlap sack, and this is one of Tim Holtz's big grunge flourishes. And I painted this with the sand glimmer mist. I used a brush, and then on the edge of it I used a black Sharpie on the edge. I laid a transparency over the paper and stamped it with flourish stamps, left it blank here. And this is an aluminum frame that my sister gave me probably 5 years ago, and I finally got to use it, and I put rub and buff on it to accentuate that embossed area. This is a flourish probably from Cindy Lou that I cut out of grunge paper, and I dyed it with the fired brick ink, and I cut this stamp out with my expressions also. And this is Stampability's journaling spot, and this gatefold page has 2 library pockets that I made from Bo Bunny paper, I forgot what collection it is. And this is a Tim Holtz grunge board hinge, and it's the one with the dots. I painted this with the espresso dauber, and I put a magnet on the back, and the other magnet obviously is behind the flowers. And I did spray this with glimmer mist. I don't know if you can see it or not though. So that's how it latches. And then I made 2 tags. This one has butterflies, and I made the little butterfly trails with an acid-free pen, and this is another little dollar journaling spot, and the pretty butterflies on the front of this, and then fibers. And this one I stamped a transparency with black stays on, and then I used the French writing stamp in the background on the actual paper in vintage photo ink. And then this butterfly is embossed with the black powder, and the French writing stamp is in the background with the vintage photo ink also. And then I put one of the Making Memories charms, and I used the black alcohol ink to dye that black. And then this is the last page, and I just stamped a whole sheet of transparency with all the butterflies and bees and flying things that I have in the clear stamps. And I put a big piece on here, and Don't You Love the Bandana paper, and I adhered it with glossy accents. And then I took 2 rectangles that were about this width and laid a flourish that I cut out of the Cindy Lou cartridge. I hope that's the right cartridge, I'm telling y'all. And then I went with my craft knife and cut around the edges to make a pocket. And I painted these with the black dauber, as you can see, and stamped. You probably can't see it, but that French writing stamp is on very, very light. And then this tag, it's a Stampability stamp. I turn on the diagonal, and I do this a lot. And I used walnut ink on this one and stamped that pattern. And that's my book. I hope that this time I gave you more information and that the picture is better. I hope my camera work was not shoddy. And I hope that if y'all have any questions or comments, that you will message me. I will be happy to answer any questions you have. And I thank y'all for tuning in and watching. And everybody have a great, great day. Thanks for watching. Bye.